Hey there, divers! Today we're going to be talking about diving the oil rigs off San Pedro with the Giant Stride dive boat. One of the more unique dives that you can do in Southern California. Not only will we be diving the oil rigs, but we'll also be diving the wreck of the Olympic 2. Hopefully by the end of this video, I'll have informed you how to safely make these often challenging dives. Fill your tanks and load your gear. It's time to go dive the oil rigs with the Giant Stride dive boat. We're going to be starting our day at the LA Maritime Museum at the corner of Harbor Drive and 6th Street. Park here in the green circle at the roundabout in front of the museum. You're going to be carrying your gear down this path here. Down the ramp here to berth 85. There you'll find the Giant Stride dive boat waiting for you bright and early. Once you finish loading up all of your gear, you're going to want to move your car out of the roundabout. I recommend parking here on the corner of Beacon and 7th Street. This is some of the only free parking in the area that is usually accessible at this time in the morning. Once you've found a nice spot, take this path back down to the roundabout and to the Giant Stride itself. If you absolutely must use it, there are public restrooms available here. However, they are disgusting and I do not recommend using them. The Giant Stride is a tidy little vessel with only 6 spots for divers. That means you can only bring your very bestest friends. There is a compressor on board if you really need fills, but I recommend bringing all of your own gas, especially today because we're doing 3 deep dives in a row, so nitrox is highly recommended. Once everything is loaded up, Captain Jim will push off from the berthing and you'll head out to the harbor mouth. The captain will give you a quick rundown of the ship and you'll be free to explore on your own. With just 6 people, there's plenty of room to hang out and have your own space. Walking towards the bow from the aft end, we have the kitchen. This is a great place to hang out with your fellow divers. Here we have up these small stairs, the wheelhouse where Captain will be piloting the ship. Down here off to the left, we have the head, and most importantly, this is the bed in the V-berth, an excellent spot to hang out, especially on longer rides. As you can see, it's quite popular with the boys before and after longer trips. The kitchen is complete with a freshwater sink, a coffee maker, and 2 microwaves, as well as a refrigerator to store your goods. Off to the left side, we have a television, a small table, and some seating areas. Great to store your bags instead of actually sitting yourself. Specifically on oil rigs trip days, once you hit the lighthouse, you're about 20 minutes from your first dive site. So if you haven't already, it's a good time to start suiting up and getting your gear ready for diving. On longer days, like trips to Farnsworth or Catalina, now is the time to hang out, take a nap in the V-berth, eat a bagel, or just have a chat with Captain Jim in the wheelhouse. But today, we're diving soon, so get ready. Once you get near the site, Captain Jim will pop out to give you a quick briefing on what to expect down below. Here we have the diving area, 6 stations for divers, a small table, plenty of room for extra bottles and scooters, and a roof to store your bags of dry necessities. Unfortunately, Hansi forgot his hood. If Captain Jim didn't happen to have a whole bucket full of spare hoods, he would have been freezing his little head off. The first dive of the day is the Olympic 2. Here we can see our dive profile. We're going to spend the entire dive down on the site itself before making a standard descent profile. Thankfully today we were greeted by excellent visibility and clean blue water. Now that we've checked on the anchor to make sure it's not tangled up in anything too heinous, we're going to make our way to the bow end of the ship. On our way, we're going to pass by some of these amazing elk kelps, some of the coolest kelps around. They have long stipes with big branching ends before the leaflets. Approaching the bow end of the ship, you can see a little bit more structure protruding from the seafloor. Up above, we have thousands of blacksmith chromies schooling above the wreck. Here you can see those chromies swarming all around us as we hit the actual bow section of the wreckage. There's a lovely little scorpion fish down in the wreckage here that I'm going to take a quick picture of. The bow here is the most structural piece of the remaining wreckage. The struts you can see to the right side running vertically are the flooring of the bow, while the pipe you see running left to right is actually the interior section of the bowsprit that would have anchored that structure. Off to the right here, underneath Hansi, we can see the actual bowsprit itself. This square structure we can see here with the anchor chain laying across it is one of the openings into the cargo hold of the ship. In the center of the screen there is one of the winches that would help lower cargo into this hold area. Here we can see that winch a little bit closer with some of our friendly divers in the background. These long posts sticking out of the sea floor are the ribs of the side of the vessel as we head toward the aft end. As we make our way toward the anchor line from the aft end of the ship, we run into a Leucothea pulchra, a type of comb jelly native to the Eastern Pacific. It's always nice to have a human subject in the background of your photos. Here, Diver H is helping to give me a little bit of scale. Here we see two divers mesmerized by the beauty of the ocean. Wow, look at that. Having arrived at the anchor line, I look up to see that we can still see our dive vessel as well as our friendly team divers hanging out at about 20 feet. Here we're at about 90. That's at least 70 feet of visibility up the anchor line past our strobe to those friendly divers. Isn't that just incredible? Check out that clean blue water. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it on camera, but Diver H is about to get smacked in the face by this anchor line. Definitely be careful as you're coming up. Today wasn't a particularly rough day, but that anchor line is definitely moving a lot. Whoa there, Nelly. Keep your distance. Again, we marvel at that clean blue water as we make our ascent. Here we're hanging out about 30 feet, about to move up. Check out that anchor line moving in front of us. As we hit 20 feet beneath our dive vessel, we hit a large school of jack mackerel. Back on board, it's time for some snacks and water. I like to pack fresh fruit like melon and strawberries. Now that we're done with the Olympic, it's about a half hour to 45-minute trip over to the oil rigs. Here we see platform Elly, and in the distance you can see platform Eureka. Because of the open ocean currents, these sites require a live drop, so make sure that you're plenty ready. Captain Jim doesn't appreciate divers wasting his time. Before we get underwater, let's take a look at what we're about to go see. Here we have platform Eureka in all of its glory. As you can see, it's an extremely tall structure, nearly 800 feet from seafloor to surface. We're only going to be worrying about the top two crossbeam segments, as this is as deep as we'll be going today. Each segment on Eureka is about 60 feet tall, so that first crossbeam is right at 60 feet and the second at 120. Here we can see our dive plan dropping down through the center, around that clustered pipe, up and around the back, then through the clustered pipe and back to the center, where we're going to make our final ascent. These clusters of pipes I've tinged red in the diagram are going to be your main landmarks, as compasses don't work inside the oil rig. Once you hit the water, immediately head underneath the oil rig. This is your safe place. Keep your reg in and your mask on. There are often sea lions hanging out on the crossbeams above you, and they will not hesitate to piss and shit directly into your face and mouth. Beginning our initial descent, we are once again delighted to see that we are welcomed by clean blue water. Today is going to be a good day. This is dive 2 of our 3-dive day, and it's going to be our longest and deepest. We're going to make a quick descent down to about 110 feet for 15 minutes before making a standard ascent up to 60 feet for the next half hour. From there, we'll make a nice slow ascent to the surface with a couple stops in between. Moving past this first set of crossbeams here, we're at about 60-65 feet in depth. With those closely packed groupings of cylinders on the left and right side, you can see that we're in the center of the oil rig platform. As mentioned before, that second crossbeam is at about 120-130 feet deep, so we're going to be stopping a little bit above that area. As we approach those crossbeams, we're going to start slowing our descent, grabbing those inflators and pumping air into our suits and BCDs. With such a great day, you absolutely have to marvel at the occasion while you're there. Check out that viz, you can see clear to the other side of the rigs. With a quick pan around, you can see all of those white plumose anemones growing on the structure. They typically start around 100 feet and become more numerous as you go deeper. Making our way through some of those closely packed cylinders, we make our way southwest towards the edge of the rig. Up above us, you can see the lights from our fellow divers. We descended first, and our dive plan was also a little bit deeper, so you'll see them above us in many of these clips. Found this cabezon sitting on a little piece of cabbage. Unfortunately, he's a little bit skittish, but I did manage to get a few shots. Wow, look at that comfy guy. The fish can pick up on diver intelligence, or lack thereof, so naturally Hansi makes lots of fishy friends. Look at how cute they are together. Isn't that just so sweet? He loves his little fishy friend. Oh hey look, a sea lion. Here, Hans is gonna give us a little bit of space, go out into the open there to give a little bit of a scale reference as to how big this structure is and how much visibility we've got. Just a couple kids playing on the jungle gym. If you look at the gap in between these pipes right here, you can see one of our buddy divers heading down. Pretty cool little happenstance that the 360 happened to capture while no one was looking. It's a lot easier to get shots looking up at the structure when you just lay on your back. It's a really comfy position, and it just kind of feels like you're sitting in a chair looking at a great big screen above you. This section of the platform is really interesting on the left side, moving to the center of the screen here. There's no vertical or horizontal cross beams, and it's kind of like this giant window out into the open ocean. It's really spectacular to look at. There's so much open space out there. Cool framing here as we're starting to make our ascent. Hansi there on the left side of the frame and our other team off to the right, about 30-40 feet above us. Here we are, coming up through one of the holes in that first layer of cross members. Like I said earlier, we're going to be spending about another 20 minutes at this depth before making our final ascent. If you look closely at this clip, you can see the slow upward swell that you get out on these deep water platforms. We're moving about 2 or 3 feet up and down close to these cross beams. Pays to give them a little bit of space to breathe. Here we are in the eastern corner of the platform, again 60 feet. We ran into this particularly feisty Garibaldi. They are known as pretty aggressive little damselfishes, as damselfishes are. And this one's got a nest just on the other side of this piece of metal here. So he's going to be pretty aggressively trying to push us and other fish away from his spot. If you keep your eye on the sheephead that's entering the frame now, he's going to be chasing him in just a second. And while it's silly that this Garibaldi thinks that he can scare me away, it does give lots of opportunities for me to take lovely pictures of him with this giant spiny sea star. Ah, look at him. He's so aggressive. You can see his nest, that yellow patch underneath and to the left on the right picture. It's real fun to fly over these big openings in the cross beams, look down, see the second set of cross beams, a whole 60 feet beneath you, and then below that, darkness. We're going to cut our way through the bunched pipes here. When you're in this area, you've really got to be careful of that upwelling. Like I mentioned before, it can move you a couple feet up and down, and with all of the tightly packed cross members in this area, those holes in the floor get a little bit of extra suction. You can get kind of clamped down on top of them if you're not watching out. We're going to hang out with our second team for a little while here. Hey there, boys. It's always a good idea to assure your dive buddy they're doing a good job, but don't tap on the glass. Divers hate when you tap on the glass. Anyways, check out these fish. Again, on these big cutout windows, you get the sensation of it being a screen with a lovely nature documentary being projected for you. Once again, we begin to ascend. You can see that we're going to be making a couple little stops along this ascent every 10 feet or so. I'm pushing that stage bottle out of the way. It's starting to get pretty light, pretty floating. It's blocking the dump valve on my BCD. As we're making our way up, we're just going to be hanging out in this central area. It's a nice chill spot in the center of the rig, and you always want to make your ascent in the center of the rig rather than on the outside so you don't get blown away by current while you're task-loaded dumping gas. Ascending in the center also puts you in the ideal position to see where the boat is and which side that you need to go to meet up with it. Getting up to about 20 feet here, we're just chilling. It's a really nice time. There's a little bit more sunlight, and getting to see the yellow and white light up ahead from the platform itself is really nice through the reflection of the water. I'm letting Hansi know that we're going to be hanging out for about 4 minutes here. We can clear out that small deco obligation that we built up. While this dive was only about 50 minutes long, with great depth comes the possibility for great deco, so make sure that you're keeping an eye on your gas supply as well as your NDL times. Of course, for us, a couple extra minutes on the bottom and a couple extra minutes at 20 feet. It's no big deal when you got 300 cubic feet of gas on your body, and when the sights are this stunning, I think it's well worth it. Here we're moving up to 10, and from there, shortly after, we're going to be making our final ascent. Now that we've hit the surface, we can see that the boat is waiting for us on the northeastern side of the rig. Depending on currents, Captain Jim will pick the easiest spot to pick you up down current. If conditions are looking a little bit sporty, the current is pushing pretty hard. Captain Jim will have one team leave the rig at a time so we can pick that up safely before coming back for the next. You can see all of that upwelling pushing us around. Definitely keep an eye on those cross beams overhead. At high tide, they can be a little bit of a hazard, and the sea lions again will shit on your face. Once it's my turn, I'm gonna hand up my camera. Emma's gonna give it to Jim, and Jim's gonna take it over to the table to strap it down with a nice little piece of bungee so it doesn't go tumbling while no one's paying attention to it. I'm gonna be taking my fins off and coming up the ladder in just a second. Even though he's been on the boat for about 45 seconds, it looks like Cody's already having a rough time with that seasickness. Different people have different ideas on how to best apply Dramamine. I am firmly in the 2 the night before and 1 in the morning camp. Crawling up that ladder, I'm going to stumble across the deck and slap down into my station. Jim's going to help me take my stage bottle off and strap my gear down for the surface interval. As you can see on the table, we like to bring plenty of snacks. While Jim will do a lot to help you, he will not cook for you, so make sure you bring some nummies. Now that everyone's on board, we're going to take about a 45-minute surface interval and slowly make our way over to platform Elly and Ellen. We're going to be diving under Elly today. Elly is the fuel refinery platform next to Ellen, which is the actual pumping station. While Eureka was in about 750 feet of water, Elly and Ellen are only in about 250, so a bit of a difference as far as the deep sea attitude there, but of course you're still not going to see the bottom from any recreational depths on this. Since we're coming from platform Eureka to the south, we're going to be coming up on Ellen on the western side here. It has the big drilling tower, and it's connected by a very cool skyway to the slightly larger Elly platform. Elly is also a lot more open underneath with a lot less structure. Once again, let's take a look at what's beneath the water. As you can see, the twins are much shorter than Eureka, about 250 feet from the seafloor to the surface. The eastern platform, Elly, has that nice consistent grid texture, while Ellen has the same clustered red pipes that we saw back on Eureka. Again, this is because Ellen is a drilling platform while Elly is a refinery. Now let's take a look at those top two crossbeams, just like we did before. A little bit different from Eureka, that first crossbeam is going to be at 50 feet, while the second is at 100. With our dive path illuminated, you can see we drop down to about 80 feet, wrap around to the south side of the platform, go outside the platform for a second, and then wrap back in to continue making our ascent into the center. Get in the water for dive 3. This is going to be easily our shallowest dive of the day. It's going to be about the same length as our Eureka dive and a little bit longer than our Olympic dive, but we're going to be spending all of our time between 80 feet on the surface. It's just not worth it to go deep at this point in the day. Your NDL will be so short. That said, to maximize that short NDL, we're going to be dropping pretty hot and fast down to about 80 feet. That's going to place us directly in between the crossmember set 1 and 2. Again, we were super lucky, absolutely amazing clean blue water. We're at about 40 feet here, and you can still see our buddy divers up above talking through their dive plan as we're making our descent. There's a little bit of current out here though, so we're getting pushed against these crossbeams a little bit, but we're gonna dodge them and continue our descent. As you can see, without those tightly packed clusters of drilling pipes, it's a bit of a different structure over here on Elly. There's a lot more open space and just light around. I'm going to capture one of my favorite pictures of the day right here. Hansi just a little ways away, a couple pipes in the background, and darkness beneath him. Wow, how mysterious. As you can see here, we're hanging out between the 50-foot crossmembers above and the 100-foot crossmembers down below, right smack dab in the middle. It's a good spot. It's a lot more difficult to hang out between crossbeams because you don't have that kind of depth reference that you would with having that semi-floor beneath you, but it's a really cool experience to be hanging out in the middle. We're gonna be hanging out with our team 2 here for a little bit. I'm gonna come on in, give Patrick a nice little firm finger grasp. That's a good little dude. Here, have a little head pat. That's a nice diver. I'm gonna pick up another nice cool shot of Cody here. I have no clue what he's pointing at, but it's nice that you see stuff. What do you think he sees down there? Leave your answer in the comments below. As the brave little diver that he is, Hansi's gonna take a quick trip outside of the rigs, out in the big wide blue. It's definitely better to stay inside the rigs. It gives you a reference point. You can quickly get swept away by the current outside the rigs and not realize quite how far you've gone. At that point, it'll be very difficult to swim back, but a quick bop outside just to get the sun on your back is kind of nice. As you can see, your sense of scale gets lost pretty quickly. If we look to the left and you don't see any rig or other divers out there, it's hard to tell just how far you can see. As you can see the sun over there, we are on the southeast side of the rig here. Pretty cool to see this massive structure off to the left and tiny little Hansi way off in the distance out there. Making our way back inside the rig, we're also making a small ascent here. You can see we're just above that 50-foot crossbeam. We're coming across this massive school of blacksmith gathering in the corner over here. One of the perks of great viz days is you can actually see and enjoy these big schools of fish. Oftentimes, these schools do still exist on murky days, you just can't see them. Using my whole camera as a selfie stick here so I can get it nice and far away and light up this school of fish for us. Coming to the end of our dive here, since we've been doing some deeper dives the last two, we're going to be saying goodbye to our buddies a little bit earlier. We're going to start our ascent right about now. It's always fun to be above divers. No one ever looks up, so you can just watch them and they have no idea that you're there. It's so cool. It's also really fun to slap their bubbles as they come up past you. Rounding out this day of diving, we're gonna be hanging out at about 10 feet for another couple minutes. Just let those bubbles come out of solution, breathe easy, and enjoy that Snell's window at the bottom of the rig above us. With the diving done, it's probably a little less than an hour back to shore. If you have a dry suit, it's nice to bring a hanger so you can let it air dry on the way in. I really enjoy passing by these cool Coast Guard vessels as we make our way into the harbor. I'm not sure who Robert Ward is, but he's got a pretty cool boat named after him. Coming into dock right next to the Maritime Museum, right where we left, make sure that you take all of your gear off the boat and leave a nice tip for Captain Jim before going to get your car. Isn't it incredible how much gear just 6 people can bring onto one small boat? That's all for today. Safe diving and happy bubbles.